Today's guest is a very interesting person. I met him here in South Korea. We are going to the same university, but in the past, he has been living in North Korea. And as somebody who's living in South Korea for such a long time now, I was really interested in the life of somebody who lived in North Korea and who is luckily back in a democratic country. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us today, Alexander Han.
Thank you for having me, David.
We've been friends since last semester, and we talked about North Korea a little bit already. But can you just quickly explain your story, basically, on how you went to North Korea, why you went to North Korea, and if it's really as dangerous as people think it is?
So I went to North Korea when I was studying in Russia. My major is Korean studies. So when I was studying in Moscow, one of our professors told that there is a exchange program during the summer holidays. So he proposed us going to South Korea. North Korea. There were actually two options, like whether to go to South Korea or to North Korea. So on this year, I decided to go North Korea because it's a good opportunity. Uh, Not so many people, let's say, have to opportunity to go to North Korea, and especially to study in North Korea because, uh, as I will tell later, exchange students in North Korea have more privileges in terms of seeing and attending some places that are not shown to tourists.
How can we picture your life in North Korea? Was everything controlled? Like, basically, did you have the opportunity to visit places by yourself, or was there always somebody who was like observing you, or somebody who's by your side, functioning as a tour guide, sort of?
There was like a student who, the equivalent of buddy student in North Korea, who had to take care of us, look after us. If there are any problems with the people in North Korea, he would have settled this. But usually, students in North Korea are also busy, so they have their own stuff. And after classes, the classes started at 8 in the morning and finished at 11. So pretty much the rest of the day we were free, and we could travel in the capital, especially uh, without any person with us. So we were led by ourselves, and it was interesting because, like, it reminded me of Grand Author Seth, and it's kind of uh, like a challenge whether you can go to this place or that place, whether it is it prohibited to take picture of this place or that place, but because regimes like North Korea are not, they have this formal law, but they have also their informal law. So you have to know what you can do and or sense that what you can do or you cannot, and you can be punished for. So basically, that is why we have a very interesting experience being in North Korea. For example, we could have we could travel by metro by ourselves alone to every part of the city we want. For example, once there was a story that my experience when I was dressed like in a formal suit, Western suit, and walk out alone to the in the streets, was walking around, and several people in North Korea mistook me with a North Korean because I looked like them. But the thing is that I didn't have this kind of pin. They have this kind of red flag pin with the images of their leaders. I didn't have this pin. So several people, three times maybe, they asked me, "Hey student, where is your pin? Did you lose it?" So I told them that I'm exchange student, and they were okay. You can go.
At any point during your exchange, did you feel like unsafe at all? Or because as you describe it right now, it seems that it is not as dangerous as everybody says it is or everybody imagines it to be. You seem like you had a pretty normal student life. You were allowed to travel to all parts. Sure, you had to obey some rules. You couldn't take all the pictures yourself. But yeah, do you have any experience where you say, oh, okay, that moment was a moment where I really felt in danger or I really felt that I did something wrong?
Well, there was that kind of moment when I was studying in Pyongyang, the capital, and in Kim Il Sung University, which is kind of Seoul National top university. in North Korea named after leader. So basically, the dormitory uh, of foreign students is outside the campus. It's on the same street but outside the campus. So foreign students will not interact with locals, less with local students. So we went once, we had like a party in our dorm, and each dorm has its like person who is kind of teacher or like a professor in Kim Il Sung University, but actually I suppose he's kind of like member of police who has had to take care of us, look after us, whether we do something bad or wrong. And once we got drunk, we had the alcohol party. Interestingly, we decided to buy the cheapest alcohol in North Korea, like which costs like 10 cents, 10 cents or 5 cents, very cheap alcohol and kimchi. And we had like a drinking party, and one of our friends got very drunk, and he threw a bottle of beer outside the dorm on the street at night. And we thought that we will be severely punished for that stuff because it's kind of abnormal in North Korea, and especially in the center of the city doing this stuff. It's very dangerous. So when we woke up in the morning, we were like trembling because maybe somebody will come up to us and say, "Hey, let's go to police." But fortunately, nobody paid attention to this, so we were lucky.
That's crazy. Do they sell like soju there?
Yeah, they sell soju, which is very cheap, and they even have like a like bottles, water bottles, like 5 liter or 10 liter water bottles, like which have square shape. They sell soju in these bottles. Like imagine a 5 liter bottle of soju or 10 liter bottle of soju for maybe $1 or one and a half.
Mm. But that party was just with exchange students, or was it
Yeah,
with
it was
really? Okay.
only among Russian speaking and English speaking exchange students there, and we were very loud. First of all, it was at night at maybe 1 p.m. 1 a.m. and we were very loud, dancing and screaming. And in the end, one of my friends threw the bottle, so the party was over.
You said you didn't have the chance to interact a lot with like local North Korean students, but maybe you interacted at least a little bit with them. So it's like, how's the student life of a normal North Korean? Do they even go to noraebangs like karaoke or party at all? Or
Usually, government in North Korea, as a totalitarian regime, it strictly controls these kind of issues, uh, like students, because uh, young adults are very like dangerous in terms of having this kind of liberal thinking. So government strictly controls this issue, and students usually like study a lot, and they attend places like official places of uh, regime. For example, they go to the statues of Kim Il Sung and Kim Jong Il, or like they visit this the there is a hall of pioneers, for example, where they have these events for uh, both locals and foreigners. So they are not supposed to have much leisure time. They have leisure time in terms of having sports. Every evening, for example, near our dorm, lots of young North Koreans, especially male, they play basketball because basketball is the favorite game of Kim Jong Un. Because when he was studying in Switzerland, he liked this game, so he promoted this game, let's say, in North Korea. So nowadays, North Korea, and they are very quite good in basketball, and they also do volleyball and other like sports activities. But in general, I would say that North Koreans are very interested, like ordinary North Koreans are very interested in foreigners, and we had this kind of feeling that we are always watched by North Koreans. But for example, every morning we go to the uni to have our classes, and North Koreans who wore like women in the morning, the women like pick the grass. They gather like people of certain apartment complex. They gather together, women, housewives, and they sit and pick this grass every morning. Each group of each apartment complex, they do this, and every day you can see that you are watched by them like a animal in a zoo. But as soon as you try to interact with them, they were scared. So this kind of occasions, yeah, happened quite frequently.
They were scared about what when interacting with furnace?
Once in the evening, there was an interesting situation when we were walking without our buddy student in the streets of North Korea, and I decided to go further to places where usually foreigners do not go. There is a district called Potong district. There is a Taedonggan River, like Hangan River in Seoul, Taedonggan River, and also another river called Potonggan. Potong means like ordinary. So there was a like Potong Moon, South Moon gate for ordinary people. So there is a river of ordinary people and a district of ordinary people. And we decided to walk towards this place. And it was in the evening. And in the evening, the black market starts working. So I tried to buy a corn as a snack from an old woman or lady who was sitting on floor and was selling this corn. I approached to her and asked, "Can I buy this corn?" And she like ran away from us to the different place, saying, "No, no, I cannot, sell you this corn." So people are quite scared of interacting. So I think they understand that there might be some bad consequence.
I still don't understand what kind of bad consequence. Do you think that the regime just doesn't want their people to interact with, like, let's say, foreigners because maybe you will influence them with your Western mindset? Is that a
Yeah,
thought?
some kind of stuff. The more they interact with foreigners, they can ask, for example, how is life in your country? If we start describe, oh, we have these freedoms, we have that, we have this access to these kind of facilities, and they start to think and compare. Why do we have this stuff? Why don't we have this stuff? And they do. So these kind of situations are not pleased by the government of North Korea. So it may be dangerous both for government and for citizens, ordinary citizens. But there was a situation when I was in the metro alone, traveling alone, and one man who was working as a working immigrant in Russia. We spoke in Korean language, and one of students who were traveling with us, he didn't take part in this our like discussion about things outside North Korea and life in North Korea, but he was very interested in our discussion, like talk, and I could realize, like looking at him, that he's kind of listening and looking at us very seriously with paying attention. So people are very interested, but at the same time they are scared.
How do they prevent that in the uni in the class? Is it like separated or like are you guys separated from the local Koreans in class too?
First of all, we had language courses, only language courses. They proposed us to get classes on ideology courses, but nobody wanted these courses because we wanted to spend more time traveling in the capital as free people. We even managed to find the place of the like a cemetery, or like the place where Kim Jong Un's mother, the current leader's mother, is buried. So we accidentally found it, and the person, each regime place has this kind of man who is supposed to look after this place, and he's hiding in the bushes. So everybody who approached to this place, he like spies on them whether they are like paying respects to this place or not. So it's kind of, see, the control of people is very like strict.
You saw the guy in the bushes.
Yeah, they usually when you approach to the like a monument or like a cemetery or this kind of building, you can see them. If you you can see they are hiding. And for example, if you take pictures improperly, they can come up, ask you to show your phone, ask you to show the picture, and if the picture is wrong, taken wrong, they ask you to delete it.
How do you take a picture wrong? Like in a wrong angle, or
For example, taking picture with the statue of Kim Il Sung, for example, or like other leaders, you have to take a whole statue from legs to head. And if you take picture with them, if they suspect that, or if you take pictures with these statues making some poses like this or that, for example, they will immediately ask you to delete these pictures.
that's so creepy that there are like people observing you all the time, and you know it that you're being observed. I still wonder, what is the like living standard in South Korea, in North Korea? I mean, obviously, I heard that many people are suffering from hunger and everything. But is that actually the case? Did you see that a lot?
I'm not sure about what's happening in North Korea now, because after coronavirus, North Korea got completely locked and nobody can come to North Korea that easily like it was in 2019 when I had my exchange program. But during that time, I would say that North Korea liberalized its economic policy, like some stuff, some import goods were allowed to come to North Korea, and North Korea started to export their goods to China. So the and some market mechanisms applied in North Korea, and you can see that I could not see like empty shelves in shops and street markets, but uh, and most of them were full, and the products, lots of people were inside these shops and malls, for example, buying these products. But you can see the consequences of starvation of 1990s in by looking at people. Some people who were born, and young adults who were born during the beginning of 90 or 1990s, and the elder people, you can see they are much thinner than children born in 2000. So their children of 2000 are much chubby. But people, once you got starved, you cannot just gain the same, become chubby. So you can see people are very thin, even if they eat a lot. You can see they are like very thin. And even now, they eat they eat food with a high percentage of oil in it. For example, the food in general was in Korea was very oily. and and when I ask why is that, my Australian friend who was living there for probably 5 years told me that this is because of nutrition problem. Oil gives you much more calories when you eat it with like when you fry it, deep fry it, or eat it with other like vegetables. And the height of North Koreans, compare this is also interesting stuff, because South Koreans, when you go to South Korea, they are tall, quite tall, especially young adults. They are quite tall and bright skin. But in North Koreans are short, like 160, 65, and they are dark skin. So they look like basically like me. That's why they thought that I'm North Korean.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised when it came to South Korea to see so many tall people. Honestly,
And this is about nutrition.
yes, yes, it is. It is. Yeah, looking back at your time in North Korea, what is there like a lesson that you've learned that you, I don't know, that you can implement to your life? Because I imagine that was one of your biggest adventures so far, to live in a totalitarian state. So yeah, what kind of positive basic lesson could you take out of that?
Positive lesson. I think this experience is unique if you go to places like North Korea. For example, maybe Cuba, or maybe like totalitarian or regime countries like Syria or like this kind of places. You have to be, you have to always stay vigilant and understand these informal rules when you interact with people or take pictures, because some stuff is not written in the law, but you have to obey it. So was the experience, and I wish I could go to North Korea once again, but maybe because of coronavirus, it will be less possible for foreigners.
Okay, that's so interesting. And then I have a, I would say like last question for you. Um, where do you think will like how do you think will the North Korean political direction go basically?
So, in order to understand the future prospects of political, let's say, direction of direction of North Korea, we have to understand the theory of politics in general, because how the regime can be overthrown basically by three um, three scenarios that in which regime can be overthrown. Is the first scenario is that it is overthrown by foreign military who comes to the country and overthrows the regime, like it was in Iraq, for example. A second option is that it is overthrown by people, for example, like it was on the October Revolution in the USSR or in the Russian Empire. And the third option is when elites of particular uh, country overthrown it, for example, like it was in Turkey. And in North Korea, it's hardly, it's unlikely that foreign military will overthrow the regime because it has nuclear weapons. If somebody, for example, foreign troops try to occupy North Korea, they will be destroyed basically. The second option is to be overthrown by elites. For example, Kim family can be overthrown by elites because of repression or oppression of elites. But it's also unlikely because elites and unify with South Korea. It's unlikely because when they unify with South Korea, they will be immediately imprisoned, because ordinary people of North Korea will say, "Oh, he did this stuff. He oppressed people. He killed some people. This particular public official." So elites are also not interested to overthrow Kim family. The third option is the most probable option, and this is the option where governments, let's say, uh, energy is spent to is to destroy any seeds of revolution made by ordinary people. So when we back to the topic, when we talk about North Korea, we should understand that the most important target of North Korean regime is to control ordinary people. Every possible policy applied in North Korea is applied to make sure that ordinary people will never rebel against the Kim family. So market policies were applied to make people's life better, but at the same time, when they understand that there is too much freedom, they start to block these market policies, and which is happening now in North Korea. So scholars and researchers of North Korean studies basically cannot predict exactly what will happen, but they know the general direction. The direction is to make sure that ordinary people in North Korea will never rebel. That's why North Korea is locked. That's why there is no internet. There is intranet called Red Star, but the access is only to local people. So government controls this. No USB cards or memory cards are allowed to come to North Korea, or like some discs with South Korean dramas. You can be imprisoned. So it's quite dangerous. So this is basically my opinion on future of North Korea. But I think that, as it always happens, there is only one dynasty that rules for a very long time. Is Japanese Emperor dynasty. but they actually do not rule Japan starting from after the World War II, right? And I think that maybe this family cannot rule forever. There will be one day that they will be overthrown, or like, yeah, some kind of this stuff can happen.
In North Korea, you said the internet is not accessible. There's like this red space, or what do you call it? What kind of social media do they use there to just communicate? Is there like an alternative from North Korea?
They have their alternative. For example, first of all, elites have access to internet. Elites have access to internet. For example, the exchange rate. This is the also interesting stuff. The exchange rate is controlled by forex. They on the forex, what is it, stock market. They control the exchange rate. They don't have central. They have central bank, but central bank does not take part in. I suppose in forming the making the exchange rate, and they have their own social media and their own games, for example. But if order to send information to somebody, you have to register yourself, like, and government knows who you are. So I think they have this kind of, and it was, this kind of stuff was in South Korea. We cannot, if we talk about North Korea, we do not say that South Korea was also democratic country from the beginning. This kind of system was also similar system was also in North Korea, in South Korea, when internet came to South Korea. They have this kind of, and you still, if you live in South Korea, you can notice this. Everything, if you buy everything in online shopping, you have to register your registration card, or alien registration card, or your phone. So government controls you, that if you buy or sell something. And the same stuff, but much in a much stricter way, is in North Korea. And for example, flash card. How can you control any flash card? For example, you can just insert it into USB and just download some information or TV dramas from South Korea, right? But the thing was that if you insert USB card, memory card into computer, it will immediately block it if it is not produced or registered in North Korea. It will immediately block it. And government, if you even if especially if you are connected to the internet, the government will know that you inserted that some memory card which is not registered, or you basically will not able to open it, because this system will they have this own they don't have Windows, they have their own system based on Linux. And if you insert some memory card, it will ask you to uh, show yourself who you are, so the regime, the public officials will know and trace everybody. They have their own phones, mobile phones. Yeah, one of my friends bought it actually, and he played some games on this phone. But for foreigners, everything like which is secret in North Korea costs pretty high, has pretty high costs. So
Okay, nice. Damn, that was such an interesting talk. Yeah, thank you, Alex, so much for joining this show today. I don't know if you have any last remarks, but otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up today. And yeah, I'm glad that you're back in South Korea, man.
thank you for having me, David.